Good afternoon, this is Scott from Aquatic Growers, and this is the summer version of how I grow aquaponically. I've shown a video of how I grow in the wintertime. It's the same greenhouse, the same setup for the system regarding the water and the fish. The biggest difference are the type of plants I grow and how the greenhouse is modified to keep heat out but let light in. What I'll show you first is, since the last video was shot for the winter growing version, I've installed call it a clarifier filter or a sand filter. There's also a video about that, and I've had it installed, I'm going to guess 2-3 months now, and there's a video of how I have built that. Take a look. And on the side, it's just my version of the incremental gravel size and approximately how much I have, just to get my filtration small enough. The reason I installed it is I was having a lot more suspended solids than I desired, and I just wanted to clean it up. So if we look inside, you can see that the water is a tea color. That is because of a few supplements that I add. But you can still see the gravel. There's about 8-9 inches of water there, and that water travels in here from my pickup pump and down to the very bottom of this trough or of this tank, and is pumped through a variety of pipes down in the bottom, and then the water is forced up through the gravel, and the gravel collects all of the fine solids and heavy solids if there are any, and then from this outlet it goes into my first tank. The slow trickle that you see coming there, I'll explain that in the video of how I built this, and the reason for that is really a vacuum relief valve. If the power ever fails, the pump has the capability of back siphoning all the water up and out and back into my system with all of the dirty debris in it. So if the pump ever shuts off, it can suck air from here and not suck the water out. There's a lot of things I want to show you. I'm going to try and make it quick. It is the 17th of June, I believe. 2016, and outside it's about 33 degrees, 32 degrees possibly. So I'm going to show you a thermometer. This thermometer shows two different increments. This is obviously the temperature right here, and we have a small little traditional built roof, so we have some insulation over top of it, so it keeps the heat in a bit. And then the bottom number that you see there is the 78.5, is the temperature of where I have the lettuce, and I'll show you how I do that. But 98 or 91.8 is about 33. So I'm able to keep the greenhouse approximately the same temperature as the outside air. Let me just walk you through this. All of this setup with the tanks is all the same as the video for the winter time. You can see there's a little bit of leftover food. I'm late feeding the fish. My fish do not like to eat during bright light. I do have lids for them all if it gets too bright in here. But luckily I use floating feed, so the feed will stay on the top, and they'll be able to consume that later tonight when the light level gets to what they like. So this is my small forest of chard. This grows really well in the spring, fall. I can grow it reasonably well in the winter time, and that's when I sell most of it. The summertime I'm competing for sales with everybody else that has it in their backyard, so I tend to have more than I need. And you can see a few plants that have seeded. I have that happen every other year because I can get biannual production or seeding from the chard. Just one quick modification I made from the winter video. The first foot of this trough is now a settling system for the heavy solids that bypass through. So the fish have a lot of leftover feed and I don't catch it, or the solids from the fish are not broken up by the aeration. It'll actually stop in this 1 foot section of trough because my screen on the other side has approximately a 1/8 hole for any small particulates to fall through. Over here is how I cool the lettuce section of the greenhouse. So this long silver tube is really just exactly that. It is aluminum bubble wrap or aluminum bubble foil that I've just made into a tube, and inside here I have a window fan, something you can get at any hardware store. On the other side of the window fan through the wall, I have a 10 by 16 inch ductwork run. One thing I probably didn't tell you in the other video is my greenhouse is connected to my house through a breezeway. On the other side of the breezeway door is a window into the basement. I took out one panel of the window, and I now have my fan sucking air from the window I have removed through that 10 by 16 ductwork, and cool air flowing from my basement through this aluminum tube into my lettuces. I don't have a lot right now because I don't use or I don't sell a lot of lettuces in the summertime. Once again, I'm competing with the backyard gardener. But by doing this, it is a 3-speed fan, so if it's really hot, I can turn the fan up. If it's cooler, I can turn the fan down. I'm able to keep this little mini greenhouse approximately 10 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit cooler than the rest of the greenhouse. And I've never been able, well, not that I want to, but I've never been able to have this little greenhouse go above 80 degrees, which is, I think, 25 degrees Celsius. All this is a heavy shade cloth. So in the morning, just to situate you guys where I am, that door at the end, I'm facing south. So this is my morning sun. It comes through my other shade cloth, or I can also roll that shade cloth up. That aluminum shade cloth is called Aluminet. It works really, really well. It's a 50% shade cloth. I can roll that up so I can get 3 or 4 hours or even 5 hours of good sunlight in the morning if it's cooler. And this I can just pull up and roll it up one side, both sides. It all depends really on what the temperature of the greenhouse is like. So here's the rest of the chard, or the forest of chard. There's 5 different varieties in there. And then we have our beans. Not all of them, but a portion of them. That first section of beans needs to be yanked out. I have some husbandry things I need to take care of. But we have 5 rafts of beans growing. And over here we're going to have some more beans on the bottom. I just have to get there. And then this is zucchini on top. And then we have some media growing beds as well. These are tomatoes. There's 4 tomatoes in this one. And then 4 tomatoes in the end. So this is a little different system. Inside this pipe wrap, there's a pump down in this growing trough, and it is on a timer to suck up water, come along, and then it deposits into this 3-inch PVC pipe. It's on a timer. I run in the daytime, half hour on, half hour off, and then at nighttime I run half hour on, hour and a half off. There's no point in trying to keep the water production up because they don't have as much evaporation in the evening. Now with these plants, I'm starting to have some potassium and or magnesium deficiencies. My beans are telling me it's a magnesium deficiency. These plants are telling me it's a potassium deficiency. So we're trying to balance that, and it takes time. I'm still in the 4 weeks of slightly adjusting things. It seems to be working. Obviously I'm showing you the wrong side. This is all the old leaves on the bottom. These new leaves are on the other side. But you can see that there's some zucchini that are set. There's a little bit larger one over here. It's just about ready to be harvested, unless you're going to, use it for a barbecue. And this seems to work very, very well. I do have a choice later that if these plants develop large enough, they shade a lot of the top, that I could probably grow some lettuces down here, because they're not going to experience as much direct sunlight and they end up getting tip burn or just overheated. Now my greenhouse on the roof has 2 automatic vents which open and close with a beeswax cylinder. As it gets warmer, the cylinder opens. As it gets cooler, the cylinder closes. And I've also included one on the end of the greenhouse. So any nice cool breeze outside, if the door is not open, this will open automatically. You can see the green netting moving just in the breeze coming through here. So that's the cylinder there. That black cylinder automatically adjusts to the temperature inside the greenhouse, and you can micro adjust it by turning it in or out to have the window or door open further. Obviously all of this is for any protection. If it stays open all night, then I don't have to worry about raccoons or any critters getting in. You may have noticed in the video that the east side where I'm walking now has the Aluminet, which is a 50% shade cloth. I'm going to show you the roof now. But I still have in the roof 2 main panels of aluminum bubble wrap. So there's approximately 20 inches of airspace in here between the 2 panels, and then another 4-foot section of bubble wrap. This side is where the seam would be. This is the winter version of it. I just rolled it up. I need to remove that still and put the rest of the aluminate down on this side as well. I just haven't gotten around to it. So the summer version is aluminate for about 5 feet, 4 feet of solid, 1.5 foot of aluminate solid, and then aluminate. I find a lot of gardeners want to have their plants in full sun, and where I live, approximately the 45th parallel, all day long. So up here, because it's June, almost the longest day of the year, you could run into 16 hours of sunlight. Plants don't need 16 hours of sunlight. Very often when it says full sun on your seed package, that's 6 hours of sunlight. It doesn't have to be this intense where you cook it all day long. So by doing a sun and shade system like I have, I find I can attain at this time of the year almost 5 hours of sunlight on the east side during the hot part of the day between 11 and 2, like where it is right now. There's still enough sunlight coming through, and it filters through, so you get sun for 5, you get approximately an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 of shaded time, and then it comes through the aluminate for approximately an hour as well. So it's a bypass system of sun and shade. And then when it finally reaches the evening, the sunlight is not as intense, and it comes through this west side, and the plants get more sunlight again. It works for me. It may not work for everybody, because as I said, I'm about the 45th parallel. Right now it's approximately 30 degrees Celsius, and in the wintertime it can go to -30. So there's a wide temperature range that we need to work with, and it's a lot of work to change the entire greenhouse from one season to the other. To remove all of this and put it all back twice a season, it's a lot more work than needed, and I don't find any benefit. I tried it for the first couple of years, and it was more hassle and more work than needed. So that's the summer version. Cooling the lettuces or whatever other cool plants you wanted to keep in there. That's 75 degrees is a really great temperature. So still a little warm for lettuces. We ideally want it around 60. But the rest of the plants don't seem to mind the heat as long as you're not going to cook them with the direct sunlight right now. So that's the summer version. I do have some other things to do in here, but I just wanted to do this quick video while it was nice and warm to show you a different way of how to cool it, and also the different types of plants that we operate with. And I hope to have another video down the road. Thanks for listening.